Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Mig with Love and Alvarez Psychology here at the conference with another attendee who volunteered to be a willing victim for this process. And Kyle, I was wondering if you could start by telling us a little bit about yourself, where you work, and why you're here.
Absolutely. My name is Kyle Siems. I'm a family law attorney. I work for the law firm of Wilkinson and Finkbeiner. I'm a partner there. We have offices in San Diego, Central, Solana Beach, Irvine, and Los Angeles.
Nice. So what are some of the kinds of work you specialize in doing within the family law area? Do you do everything? Or are there certain things that you're better known for?
Our firm runs the gamut from, I'd say, complex high net worth cases, high conflict custody cases, to more regular middle class, run of the mill. We have a pretty significant number of associates and partners that vary in their level of complexity. I myself, probably most known for high conflict custody cases, although sometimes I wouldn't mind pivoting from that high conflict world from time to time, but I also do quite a bit of business division, self-employed, complex financial cases as well.
And the custody work it can be very difficult, emotionally challenging. There's a lot of, as the name suggests, conflict going on between the couples. What role, if any, would you say mental health professionals play in that picture, and or with your particular firm? What are some of the things that they might be used for?
First of all, going through a divorce is a trying enough situation in and of itself. So, separating your family, separating from the person you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with is in and of itself such a traumatic experience that going through having mental health assistance, having a therapist as you navigate divorce, I think is critical regardless of the level of conflict. Even in the most amicable divorces, I think the loss of that relationship, it's important to have somebody that you can bounce ideas off of, that's unbiased and neutral, that can be helpful. In terms of a case, if we're guiding a high conflict, difficult co-parenting situation, it's really helpful to enlist a mental health professional to figure out where clients' struggles are, where their weaknesses are, even where their strengths are. Because when you're battling over your children, unfortunately, the other spouse tends to know where your triggers are, where problems can arise. And so whether it's from a litigation strategy or simply for the help of our clients to get through this difficult time, independent of its impact on the case, I think I always advise my clients that getting a good therapist out at the outset is really integral, really critical.
That's good to know. And so what brings you to this event in particular?
Well, I am a fellow in the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, so part obligation, but part of it is the education and the camaraderie within the organization is really wonderful. I think the education is second to none, and then getting to know the other attorneys. I primarily work in San Diego, so getting to know and build relationships with folks in LA, folks in Orange County, and really folks come from statewide to these institutes. So both from an education perspective, but also a networking and a camaraderie perspective, and really getting to know folks who do our job, which is it's a unique niche, and it has its own set of complexities and mental health issues. So, we're all in it together.
Yeah, and typically most of the attendees here, they're all attorneys and judges. Is that correct? Because unless you're a sponsor, you need to be an attorney or judge to get in the door. Is that accurate?
I can't say for certain.
Okay.
But I know there are forensic experts that are here who work hand in hand, and probably some of those are sponsors.
And sometimes they present. Like it would not be surprising to see a mental health professional presenting. Absolutely. Or financial specialist, for example. Last year I was on a panel for the Santa Monica event, and there was a real estate expert, also a financial expert. I was a mental health professional. We were talking about persuasive testimony on that occasion. So can you tell us what some of the advantages are coming to an event like this in terms of meeting sponsors? Who tends to show up to these things?
Yeah, absolutely. The idea behind the Institute predominantly is these are more advanced skill sets for family law litigators, folks that take issues to trial. We try to set our programming apart to be as high level, helping folks navigate complex issues within both the child custody realm as well as the high complex financial issues. So it really would run the gamut of who's going to be here in terms of both folks like yourself who do child custody and mental health, but also accountants, financial planners, financial advisors, forensic experts. They're all throughout, and you get the ability to meet with and network with those folks as well.
Okay.
It's really beneficial.
And do you have any pro tips for someone who's looking for an attorney or who might be getting started in a situation like this? What information should they gather together? What should they think about in terms of moving forward? What do they need to be aware of in terms of planning? Because a divorce can be a lengthy and difficult process.
Two things that are very helpful. First is understanding your financials, understanding your family's financials, both, if you're a spouse who's on the outside and you rely on the other to really run the finances, getting an understanding of where those are early and before you even go meet with a family law attorney. I think that's really integral, really gives you an open, eyes and ears and understanding of what's going on in the family, so you're not assuming things. Second, when you're looking for an attorney, I think referrals are the best evidence of who's going to be good. Anyone can produce a flashy website, look really professional, but if you have folks that you trust who've used an attorney in the past, that's really integral. I think peers, attorneys know who are the good attorneys. I look at things like Yelp or things like that, respectfully to Yelp out there. Everybody knows what a good cheeseburger from a bad cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows a good attorney from a bad one. And so when you're looking for, if you don't have any referrals, looking for folks who have the credentials of, not to tout an academy, but the academy, or who have these bona fides that their peers and the judges are really promote these folks. If you would get a referral from a professional or someone like yourself who know the attorneys in the industry, I think that's really integral, more so than online reviews that most attorneys, in a lot of cases, you're an adversary. So half of the spouses, one spouse will love you and the other spouse might hate you. So those reviews aren't necessarily going to be helpful. So personal referrals and then professional referrals, I think, are really helpful too.
So I'm going to jump in on that because a few quick comments. One of the reasons I'm doing these videos is because I've always had a business that operated pretty much entirely on word of mouth. Maybe I want to say 500 people contacted us because they were Googling something related to the work we do and they found us. And honestly, I realized that our media was terrible. It still is up until a few weeks ago. And so I decided to jump into this area as a way to improve our game and then also make connections. I mean, I've had a lot of wonderful opportunities to talk to experts like Kyle as a consequence of this experience that I'm doing. And he reminded me of something that happened to me several years ago when I was starting out in custody evaluations. I had done a few, but I certainly did not have the experience that a lot of the other custody evaluators had at the time. And this gentleman called me one day and he said, "I've decided to use you as the custody evaluator. I think you're the best." And I smiled just like Kyle did, and I was like, "Okay, so can you explain that to me? How did you figure that out?" And his answer was, "Well, when I was looking at all the reviews for everyone else, you had the fewest negative reviews. So therefore you must be the best." I kind of smiled to myself and I told him, "Well, honestly, that's only because I've done less of this kind of work so far than everybody else."
Honest answer.
But that illustrates the point that Kyle just made, which is, there are a lot of unhappy litigants with this process and they don't always say the nicest things about us. There might be some legitimacy to what they're saying at certain times. But honestly, It's not the happy ones who send us maybe Christmas cards year after year because of the great experiences that they had, who then go ahead and put something out online, and that's just the nature of the work we do. But we get a lot of satisfaction out of it, helping people with everything that we possibly can. So, all right, Kyle, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
All right.